Glass Media,
Sure.
and your parent corporation. You call yourselves the Lonesome Valley. Am I right, sir? Do I have that correct?
There are a lot of nicknames or other names for this area. So Lonesome Valley, Jackass Flats, Prescott Valley. This area was originally homesteaded by the Fain family, my parent group, in the 1870s, actually the Camp Verde area. Then eventually moved here in the Prescott Valley area, and they were ranchers. And they started the Rafter 11 Ranch, which was one of the largest ranches in Arizona at the time. Then, of course, the Depression happened, and like all ranches and businesses, there was some withdrawal in size. But that ranch remains in business still today. Rafter 11 is right off of Fain Road and Highway 69. They still raise cattle. And so that's a big part of this region's history as well as my own company's history.
But it also here on your website says that in the entertainment district of the town is the Talking Glass Civic Center. Is that your property?
It's been going through some iterations. The town center
Yes.
used to be Rafter 11 Ranch. So that actually are billboards that we just refurbished, two of them, both on the highway and on Glassford Hill, have Rafter 11 on them. And they're actually the areas basically kind of rebranded Rafter 11. The entertainment district, the town center, again, goes back to that history in the 1870s when Colonel Glassford was a part of that heliograph network. For people that don't know what a heliograph is, basically is a mirror on a tripod, and they used Morse code to communicate between regions. So they'd put them on hilltops.
Right.
And that's where kind of Talking Glass came from. And it's such a great name because now what do we do? If you look at your phone, what is it made of? It's made of glass. You're hearing people talk out of it. Your computer's got a glass screen. So that's kind of where Talking Glass came from. I'm paraphrasing. There was a lot of debate on brand development there. But so we got Talking Glass Media and TG.
But you also have Talking Glass Apartments. You sell your company owns luxury apartments as well. You're so embedded in this community with so many different.
That's correct.
But all under. Go ahead.
Homestead Talking Glass is a 214 unit luxury apartment complex, the first multifamily in downtown Prescott Valley. Highly successful. Nobody said it would fill up out here because of the rates, and it's 98% full. The group does everything for commercial, industrial, residential development, as well as land lease, build to suit is what we do. But it's important. My ownership thought, the Fain family thought, that if we're building a community, we need to build a community online as well and share all the good news that is happening. And it makes complete sense. What we're doing online is no different than what we're doing on land.
I love that. I'm putting my own personal slant into, but I love that, what we're doing online is the same thing we're doing on land. So one of the theories that's blossoming in how to build the perfect media company is don't think of yourself as a media company, but think of yourself as a solution provider to your community. In other words, don't just cite a problem, build the committee that solves it. Do you follow what I mean? This comes out of the Ken Doctor philosophies. Don't say there's a housing crisis, build the houses. I mean, you know what I mean? Get into the community as part of it. So it's not just an information provider, but you're embedded within the community. That might be the future model. You guys are the community in a lot of ways. But there is a competing daily newspaper. Am I correct?
Of course. That's good.
Okay, good. And they are, what's it called?
The legacy, longest standing newspaper up here that I'm aware of is the Daily Courier.
Okay.
That was originally print, and they've been around for quite a long time. And they also have a digital presence, and they're a subscriber-based publication. So in order to read their stuff online, you have to be a subscriber.
There's no local television news outlet, correct?
There's an outfit called AZTV, if you will, they're cable, and then you have a Sparklight, which I guess you could kind of say is a competitor from an advertising standpoint, but they're really a collaborator. They're an advertiser of ours. And then you have your affiliates, which are down in the larger markets, which is Phoenix, Arizona. But we know when your cable company is advertising with you, you must be doing something right.
Sure. Okay, and then you have studios. And do you do video or is it just podcasts in your studios?
Both. So we're actually building some new studios right now. Hopefully we'll be in them April 15th, knock on wood.
Okay.
We have some amazing videographers on staff. We call our lead guy Batman. We do some amazing things in After Effects. So yeah, we're heavy in video for our clients, whether it's small business videos or our own weather videos, for example. Podcasting right now, we talked about this in the last time we met, was our text to speech service on Signals AZ through our Amazon web servers that turns our written content into audio content. That's predominantly what our podcast is comprised of right now, but we'll be doing live shows kind of like this here in the very near future as we kind of grow that podcast.
One of the reasons I wanted to feature you on an EMP Reports, and I know I met you through the webinar, we did a sponsored webinar with Our Hometown, was your background. How should I put this? I come from radio and television. I'm an old guy now, 63, but I cut my teeth as a DJ in the 70s. I came up through electronic radio. And I always found it fascinating when I was working, managing radio and TV stations. The only way I was going to get to management was to get out and sell. Do you follow? So my background went from talent to sales because I realized the guy running the ship in any broadcast operation usually comes from the street, not from the news department. Then I, slipped over to newspapers. I hope I'm not boring you with this, through the digital side, because I was a nerd and a geek. About 99, when the internet was starting to flourish, the local paper in Portland, Maine said, "You're the nerd that's always running." I was running the ad club in town, and I was always carrying a computer. So they suddenly put me in management to start a digital division for a newspaper. And I found it fascinating in newspapers. The guy at the helm usually came from editorial. Do you follow? Not the business side. Rarely was there an ad director promoted up, and then as digital grew, never from the digital side. You know what I mean? Right. Now that's shifted. I mean, massively. The guy running the Tampa Tribune down here is an old friend of mine who used to be at Morris Communications on the digital side. Now he's publisher. You follow. Things are shifting. You come from the digital agency side. Yep. You see where I'm going?
Yep.
And you entered the news publishing industry. Here's how we define news publishing at EMP. This is a news publisher has to craft content, find an audience for it, and monetize it. You follow?
Yeah.
That's it. I don't know if you do it through subscription, through crowdsource, or through advertising, but those are the three things. You're doing that, but when you're monetizing your environment, you're doing it in a holistic approach. And correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm going to shut up now, but I'm teeing you up for the question. Do you think your background at looking at the world through an agency aspect, you see the holistic form, has helped build this, if I can call it an empire? Do you see where I'm going?
Right.
Because you didn't come through the rigidity of our systems.
No, I don't know the rules. Well, getting back to your nerd comment, maybe they meant when they said the meek shall inherit the earth is the nerds that shall inherit the earth. It is what it is, right? I think there's always a place for print. And in fact, that's why we created the magazine for the town and the rec guide. There's always a place for print, especially if it's hyper local. But the reality is people have gone online because it's easier.
But you don't even think in terms of press versus online. You think in terms of the brand first. You not? I mean, just based on what I'm reading, when I read about you and I read about what the empire, I call it an empire because it's got so many tentacles to it. Right. But it always starts with, we are the Valley. Am I right? We are.
It's centric. It's always centric and always goes back to Prescott Valley. Absolutely.
It reminds me.
Why yourself, again, from a digital agency side or just an agency side, because my digital agency did media buying for radio and print. But we started in digital back in the infancy. I saw that train come in when Facebook was launched. So there goes the democratization of media. It's right. Making it easy for the small business to do it. But I also knew that, you could do this yourself, but business owners are always going to be too busy to do it themselves. Hence, digital agencies, right? I was actually make it the long story short is I was approached by an existing digital news site here in town years ago. to help them grow their business because they saw my digital agency growing. And they said, how do you do that? I'm like, well, I go out and get advertisers. So they asked me to come on board, and I became partners with another digital news site a while back. I was half owner of that. That partnership, for whatever reason, didn't work out. They're still in existence. And that's where I crossed paths with the Fane Signature Group, and the rest is history. But you're absolutely right. I came from the digital agency side. And so my mind wasn't, lack of a better term, confined to the legacy thought of editorial page column inches. It was really about how do we get all this information out to everyone in every which way, form, fashion, digital billboards, print, podcasts. Everyone consumes their information differently. And our job is to make sure that we provide those platforms to share that information. And like I've always said, is people don't want information, they expect it. They expect you to share it. And they expect you to share it on the forums that they like. So if they're a podcast fanatic, you better be there. And our last webinar with you is really a great one on podcasts and on that text-to-speech technology. So I appreciate that. That thought is, again, we don't look at ourselves in competition with anybody. We're looking at it as, this is our philosophy. This is the information that's out here, and here's how we're sharing it. I'm not looking at and comparing to legacy news sites or anything else. We